Year 7s, Mrs Smith here. I know lots of you know me already. You've seen me around school if you don't know me already. Hello. Well, I should be cooking in my brand new food room, shouldn't I, with you guys? But that's not going to happen. So we don't miss out, I'm going to demonstration in my kitchen. And hopefully very soon we'll be back in the new kitchen in school and we'll do the rest of the dishes. But I don't want you to stop cooking. I want you to get your skills going, improving your skills if you already cook a lot, and enjoying a very delicious warming soup in this cold weather. First of all, I just want to say it's optional. You do not have to cook at home if it's not possible. But lots of the last Year 7s, and I've got Year 8s and Year 9s, 10s and 11s cooking at home as well. But it has to be safe. You have to make sure if you're cooking, there is a responsible adult at home with you. And it is optional. There will be a theory task if you can't do the cooking. But these recipes are tried and tested. They're delicious and healthy, and most of them have got fruit and vegetables in them. So it would be really lovely if you could do these dishes, please, and you upload your photos to Saturday and I can have a look at them, give you some feedback, and then give you some house points as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing your dishes. But in our first lesson, theory lesson, I taught you about health and safety. Really important you wash those hands. That means the backs of the hands, the wrists, in between your fingers, just like we've been doing already. But we've always done that in the food room. We've always had really high standards of food hygiene, as I'm sure you have in your houses as well. Making sure that the worktops are nice and clean, chopping boards are clean, your equipment's clean, and you've washed fruit and vegetables where you're going to eat the skins. Obviously, if you're taking the skin off at onions, you don't need to wash them. And also if we're using high risk items, when we're doing things with chicken, like chicken stir fry and chicken nuggets, I'm going to talk to you about extra safety with items like that as well. Now, aprons, doesn't matter if you haven't got one at home, doesn't matter. We don't all wear aprons at home. I just happen to have one. And rolling your sleeves up, please. Or wearing a short sleeve shirt, because as we talked about in the theory lesson, you're going to have bacteria on the cuffs of your sleeves that could go into the food and they're going to get mucky as well. And the apron is actually a protective layer against the bacteria on your clothes getting onto the food. Actually, it's not to keep you from getting dirty, as a lot of us think. See lots of chefs on television, they don't have dirty aprons. It's that protective layer. That was why we do it in school as well, and rolling sleeves up. We'll all through this again when you come back into school. So as I say, we're going to cook the spiced lentil soup today, which is absolutely delicious. If you don't like it spicy, you can leave the chilli out, because there's other spices in it, there's sort of aromatic spices that are going to give it flavour. So the ingredients, you're going to need a carrot, an onion, a stock cube. We're going to need a tablespoon of oil. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. We're going to need some spices. Now you're going to need a teaspoon of oregano, which is a bit sort of Italian herb. You're going to need half a teaspoon of chilli powder, depending on, I've got cayenne pepper here for that chilli, just depending how spicy you like it. You could up that or you can take it out if you don't like it. We need 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, and we need some salt and pepper, and we need 100 grams of red split lentils for this soup. There are different sorts of lentils. You can get black lentils, brown lentils and green lentils. For this recipe, because these cook really, really quickly, you can use other lentils, and you can use a can of already cooked lentils. That will obviously cook a lot quicker because those lentils are cooked when they're in a can. But these ones, if you use a different variety, the brown ones, the green ones, they are just going to take longer to cook and you'll get more of a chewy texture than you will these red split lentils. So if you can try and get these, this is what you have. This soup is very sort of similar to dal actually, if you've had that before. Absolutely delicious. And they're packed full of protein in lentils, a plant-based protein, really good for you and full of fibre, as are the onion and the carrot as well. So anyway, I'm going to crack on with the first thing to do is to chop your onion. Now I'm using a brown onion. In the recipe it says you could use a leek as well. That's absolutely fine, but somebody at home will have to show you how to do a leek. I couldn't get one. So somebody at home will tell you how to do a leek and how to chop it correctly and wash it, because you have to wash leeks inside, because sometimes they get a bit of sand trapped in there. So I'm using a brown onion. It could be a red onion as well. So knives. Now your knife should always be sharp. This is why you need people at home with you when you're using knives. And you might feel a bit safer with a smaller knife. That's absolutely fine. But the first thing I'm going to show you is the bridge technique, which you probably might do this anyway as well when you chop at home already. The bridge technique. So you're holding your hands like in a bridge with your thumb and your forefinger on one side. And I'm going to cut the onion. It's like a rock chop. You put all of your weight down the handle, a rock chop. And I'm cutting the onion in half with the skin on. This is the easy way to get the skin off. So then you've got the 2 halves. And what I did cut from root to tip. I didn't cut for the middle there. I cut down that side. So root to tip rather than through the middle of the onion. You'll find that much easier. Then I've got the 2 halves. Now I'm going to turn the onion over to the flat side. It's much easier to chop when it's on the flat side. If you do it this side, it's all wobbly. So same with anything, like it could be an apple, could be a courgette or a carrot. Turn it over to the flat side that you've just created. It's much easier to chop them. And now with the rock chop, which is like this, you start tip, not too high, keep the tip on and it's a rock in the knife. I'm just going to take off the non-rooted end, and the same on that one as well. Then what you should find is the skin should peel back really quickly, easily. It's an easy, good way to take the skin off. It's quite hard to get the skin off onions, particularly if it's whole. But if you cut them in half, you'll find it'll just come back really easy. Now, crying. Now, they've got the acid in them can sometimes make you cry. Little tips for that are, I mean, you could wear swimming goggles. We're only doing 1 onion here. And I'm just going to put that in the bin because we want to get it out of the way. Not only does it keep your board nice and clean, but also, you know, that skin is going to have bacteria on it. Possibly food poisoning bacteria because it's been grown in soil, so we want to get that away as quick as we can. To take part, you could use swimming goggles if you want to. The thing is to do them quickly, get them out of the way, particularly get the skins out of the way, and then you're not standing over them. Cook them quicker. Once they start cooking, they're going to start releasing that acid as well. And just do them more often. The more you chop onions, the better you become at it. So now we're going to dice the onion, not slice them. We're going to dice the onion. Now this is the way that chefs do it. You might have a way that you do it, that you dice them evenly and safely, or somebody at home might do it in an even and safe way. It's absolutely fine. I'm just showing the way that I do it, and a lot of chefs chop like this. So you're going to get your knife again, and it's a rock chop again, but then you're going to, they've got these lines on, and you're going to sort of use those as guidelines, and you're going to go down, but I'm not going to go all the way through. Again, I'm rock chopping that knife, getting the tip in first. And then change to bridge. I changed to bridge then. That technique I was using is called the claw, where you're holding it like that. And then when my fingers got vulnerable, I changed to bridge and cut between my fingers. But can you see I haven't cut all the way through? I've left that root on there. The reason why I've done that is it's much easier to hold it together there because I haven't cut it all the way through. And then you go down that way with a rock chop and cut it into dice. If it slips a little bit, don't worry. Now I'm just going to cut round that root, and then I have now got nice even diced onions, so I'm just going to do the other half to show you as well. So again, cutting down but not all the way through. I'll show you, you can see it's not cut all the way through. And then this is the claw. Well, that's not the claw. That's not the claw because my fingers are flat then, they're vulnerable. That's the claw. The fingers are behind the blade. The thumb is tucked right back. You can see, I watched a little YouTube video with this link as well. You can see that in a bit more detail, how to chop onions do this way. And then I'm going to turn it and then cut it that way. And I'm holding it claw again, keeping the thumb tucked back. Otherwise you'll catch it. And then I'm just going to cut around those bits there, cut those bits up, because I haven't got a root on this bit actually, that little half doesn't have a root on it, and just actually a little bit there I'm going to take out here. So I've now got even diced onions. Now the reason why you have even dice, you're going to have even cooking as well then. If we have huge bits and small bits, we're going to have some bits that are overcooked, some bits that are undercooked. So that's why we do dicing. There is another technique called cross chop I'm going to show you in a minute, but that's really things like garlic and chilli and ginger and herbs. That is how you dice an onion. So I'm now going to get that out of the way. Because I'm going to now chop my carrot. So clear your board and put it to one side. Now carrots. Now peeling the house. Peelers, hopefully you've got a peeler in the house. All the different sorts of peelers. Now these what's called speed peelers. You can either go that way. I've washed my carrot by the way. You can go away from you or you can cut towards you, which is the way I like to do it. Bringing it towards me like that and take all the peel off. All the way around. Don't keep going as 1 year 7 did. There was hardly any carrot left. Just stop and you can just have a look, make sure that you're stopped when the peelers all come off. And then this is called topping and tailing because those bits are not very nice to eat. So I'm going to top and tail. Again, claw, thumb tucked back, and I'm doing a rock chop again. And I'm just taking off just the ends, not too much, don't want to waste too much. And yet again, I'm going to get those scraps and I'm going to put them in my bin out the way, keep your board nice and clear. Now chopping a carrot, I'm now going to make this easy for myself and I'm going to cut it into 3 pieces just to make it easier for myself. And then see I'm swapping between claw and bridge. So bridge again, knife in between, rock that knife down, and then I'm going to cut it again, and then I'm going to cut it into dice. Okay, diced carrot. Okay, quite small. The smaller the carrot, the quicker the soup is going to cook, because the carrots take longest to cook. So dice your carrot like that. Again, so bridge, cut in between, onto the flat side, like I said before, like the onion, makes it a lot easier because it's wobbly that side. Turn it over, knife between, then you can turn it, keep holding those two bits together, and then you can go down into dice. Nice even sized dice, again for even cooking. Okay. There's lots of things you can cut, like there's parsnips, courgettes, and then we're going to, last one, in between, onto the flat side, bridge, claw. So this carrot's been really good for us. It's full of vitamin A, beta carotene, which is really good for your eyes. It's full of fibre, which is good for your digestion. And I'm just going to put those in with a bowl as well. Right. Now, what we're going to do now, we're going to start frying that sauce already. We're going to start frying these carrots and onions in a tablespoon of oil. Now, you might not have measuring spoons. You can get these in lots of supermarkets in the cook section. Not very expensive, because a lot of our recipes we use a measuring spoon. So if you get a set of those, that's great. Or if not, I'm sure somebody at home will be able to judge what a tablespoon is. So I'm putting a tablespoon of oil in my pan. I'm measuring it over the pan. Like that. The only problem is just pouring the oil in. You might have too much, and we're just trying to keep the fat level down in all these recipes. So now I'm going to start heating my oil up. So someone might need some help for you to light your stove. We're going to heat the oil up now, and then we're going to just lightly fry the carrots and the onions in that oil. Now the oil's going to heat up, which you want it to do. We want it to go in there a little bit of a sizzle when it goes in. But we don't want to leave it on a high heat. If we do that, these are going to burn. So this is called regulating your heat, which is what the more you cook, the more you learn to do that, which is changing it. Changing the heat going up and down. So give it a little stir around with a wooden spoon, not a metal spoon, because wood is what we call a poor conductor of heat, which means it doesn't carry the heat very quickly up to your hand. Metal, which is why we use it for saucepans and baking trays, is a good conductor of heat. It passes the heat through it quickly. So if you use a metal spoon, that heat's going to shoot up the spoon and could burn you. That's why we use wooden spoons, or we have wooden handles sometimes. We use a plastic again, which is a poor conductor of heat. Or you could have hollow handles as well, which is also going to stop the heat coming through so quickly. And while we use things like oven cloths, because fabric's a poor conductor of heat, so it's good to get stuff out of the oven with an oven cloth. So I'm just going to keep stirring that. While that's frying, you can do your garlic. And I'm going to get, from my fridge, some garlic, which is going to give it a wonderful flavour. And I want 2 cloves of garlic. So this is a bulb of garlic. You buy them in bulbs. And then you're going to take off 2 cloves like that. And then I'll show you how to get the skin off it. Now, I'm just going to turn that down now. Okay. Because it's now needs to a lower heat, otherwise it's going to brown too quickly. I don't want to give it any colour. I'm softening this and getting all the flavours out of the onion and the carrot and just softening it. So it starts to, because carrots and onions, all vegetables, are predominantly water, what's happening is the water's condensing off, they're going to shrink and shrivel, and the onion's going to look a little bit see-through, and you want to do that for 5 minutes. But while it's doing, you could be doing your garlic. So you could just to get the skin off, you could just put your hand on it like that, just put all your body weight and you hear a little crack. When you get more confident with knives, what chefs do, you put a knife on it, and you put your hand down there. But if you feel a bit worried about that, I'm not really vulnerable at all, because the blade is not that way up. I wouldn't do it that way up. And then what you find is either you could do it with a knife or your hand. You'll find the skin peels off much quickly. Gosh, these are big cloves. That's good. Take all of that skin off. I'm just taking off the sort of non-pointed end of the garlic clove, and just take that garlic off like that. And then again, we're going to get rid of the skin. Tidy up as you go along, please, guys. Now what we're going to do, we're going to chop this garlic. Now, chopping the garlic, this is a different technique called cross-chopping that I mentioned earlier. Well, so first of all, just roughly chop it. like that. And then you're going to go in, you put your hand on the top of the knife and you move the knife around like that. And this is the way we do ginger, we do chilli, we do fresh herbs, because it's so we want it quite small. I mean, it's too little to dice it, and you wouldn't sort of dice herbs. You go in with cross chopping. So we do this quite a lot. We use lots of dishes, we use lots of garlic in lots of the dishes we do. And ginger as well, we do the stir fry, you'll be doing this as fresh ginger. So then just clear your knife as you go. Just be careful you don't put it that way. Just clear your knife. Just make sure your finger's not vulnerable. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that now. So we're going to stir. So the next step is to add your spices and your garlic into there. And as I say, I've got all my spices already weighed out in here. I've got a teaspoon of oregano, which is a lovely sort of Italian herb. It smells a lot like pizzas because they put it in pizza sauce. So you could use mixed herbs as well, or you could leave this out if you haven't got it. But different between spices and herbs. I've got spice here, I've got cumin, I've got oregano here, which is a herb. And I've also got some fresh herbs here. This is a fresh one as well. Well, the difference is that herbs come from the leaves of the plant. So it's coriander, this is a herb. But you can also get a spice coriander, which is made from the coriander seeds, which I haven't got with me. But you can get coriander seeds, which is a spice. So herbs come from the leaves of the plant, like oregano, mixed herbs, thyme and basil. That's the leaf of the plant. Spices, such as cumin, coriander, cayenne pepper, turmeric, they come from a different part of the plant, and sometimes it's seeds, like with cumin. You can see these are cumin seeds, and that's been ground up to make ground cumin, because I'm using the ground version of that. It could be the seeds, it could be the seed pods. If you think of chilli, that is a dried seed pod that has been ground up. Turmeric actually comes from the root of the plant, as does ginger, and these are all spices. And what's a bit different is cinnamon. That actually comes from the bark of a plant. So that's the difference between spice and leaves. Spices and herbs. Herbs always be from the leaf of the plant, spices from seed pods, seeds, roots, bark, and something. Also saffron is part of the flower. So it's just a different part of the plant. So now I'm going to put my spices in. It's going to smell really lovely in there. Now the cumin and the oregano are not going to give it heat. They're just going to give it a wonderful aromatic flavour, especially the cumin. The chilli is what's going to give it the heat, and as I say, if you like it really spicy, I'm going to turn my heat up a little bit now just to cook those spices and the garlic just for 2 minutes. So you're sort of roasting the spices in there in that oil and getting the flavours out. So if you don't like chilli, you can take that out, or you could add some extra if you like it really spicy. Oh, it smells delicious. That's really, really nice. For 2 minutes. So I'm going to get my lentils ready here. I've got my 100 grams of split lentils. I have got 750 grams of cold water. I've got stock cube. It could be vegetable, it could be chicken. I think the beef ones might be a bit of a funny colour to your soup, but that's all you got, that's fine. And 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. Now, if you don't know how, it's a bit mucky on the top there, if you don't know how to open tomato puree, on that lid there's a little pointy bit, and if you go like that, press down, that's a really good way of opening it, rather than getting a knife in and digging about. So I'm going to have 2 tablespoons of tomato puree as well, and I'm using my tablespoon measurement, and some salt and pepper. That's had 2 minutes, I think. So I'm now going to go in with my lentils, with my water, and this is going to sizzle a little bit. I'm sure, there we go. I'm going to go in with my 2 tablespoons of tomato puree in the pan as well. I've got a measuring spoon, you can have it at home, I'm sure will help you judge that. And I'm going to just break up my stock cube. Now different stock cubes, you can get little sort of jelly ones, that's okay, just plop those in. Ones that are sort of like this, you just do need to crumble them in like that. And just wash your hands. And salt and pepper going in as well. We can do that at the end if you want to just check it at the end. And there we go. So I'm just going to move these things out of the way so I can show you the soup that I've got ready. Now, with the soup now, you keep stirring it. Wipe down as you go along, tidy up as you go along. Show people at home you can be nice and tidy. Let you cook again and you wash up after yourself, because that's what you will be doing in school. You'll be washing up after yourself. So wash up today, or stack the dishwasher. So I now need to put this soup onto full heat. We need to get to boiling point, because I've just put quite a lot of cold water in there and knock the temperature right down. So I need to get it up to boiling point to get the lentils and these vegetables cooking. So put it on full heat, and then when it starts bubbling and boiling, you need to turn it down low. And then we know we've reached boiling point. So it starts to bubble, there's steam coming off it, it's rolling around in the pan. If you leave it on full heat, what's going to happen is the lentils will stick to the bottom of the pan because they will sink. And the carrots, all the water will condense off, and the carrots and lentils will still be raw. It won't be very nice soup. So once we've got to boiling point, we're going to turn it down to a simmer. And it's basically holding that boiling point, but just really gently, letting it bubble away. And it's about 15 minutes, you'll find the carrots and lentils have gone nice and soft, and then you can blend it. If you don't, well, you don't have to blend it. Here's a soup I made earlier. This is what it looks like. Now you could just have a nice chunky soup like that, which is delicious. Some people like that. And how I knew it was cooked, I'm just going to get a little knife and show you. When the carrots are cooked. The carrots are the thing that's going to take longest. Take a bit of carrot out and just squash it like that. Cut it with a knife. Is it nice and soft? Then you know it's done. And if the carrots are cooked, everything else will be cooked. The lentils have gone nice and fluffy and soft. The onions nice and soft. So you could eat it like that. Absolutely delicious. Or what you could do, you could blend it. I'm just going to turn this soup off at the back here because it's a bit noisy, and I'm going to cook it later on, but I will put it back on afterwards. Now blending it. Now you might have what this is called a liquidizer or a blender at home, or you might have a food processor. You could use either of those. This is a different attachment to that. You could use either of those. So you could have it chunky, or if you haven't got either of those and you want it a little bit soft, smoother, you could actually get a potato masher on it and mash it down like that. I'm going to use this liquidizer. It's better for soups because you can pour it, so it's much easier to pour. But this you need to do with an adult, please, because we've got a very hot liquid here. I would recommend you leave your soup to cool down for at least half an hour before you blend it, because you've got a boiling liquid there, lots of it, and you're transferring it, and it could easily burn you. So just be really, really careful with this. And I'm just now, you might want to do it half at a time. I'm going to put all of mine in at one time, but you could do yours in 2 lots. And again, this is why you need help, in case you splash yourself. And using a processor, I don't want you using anything with sharp blades or boiling liquids on your own. This is why we said have an adult with you. The lid on really, really firmly, doesn't splash out. And we've got, on this one, we've got different settings on them. We've got sort of fast and very fast. We've got another setting that's called pulse. And that one you sort of have to hold it on. I'm not going to use pulse today. I'm going to go for the super fast. So it's going to be very noisy. Have it as smooth or as lumpy as you like, really. Just depends how long you leave it on, because it's got a blade in there spinning around that's blending it, sort of cutting all the vegetables up and blending it. So I'm going to do mine like that. I've got a lovely wholemeal bread roll, and later on I'm going to talk to you about making bread, and you can make your own bread. And I'm just going to pour some of this lovely soup into the bowl. Now this is enough to feed 4 people or 3 very hungry people. And what you've got here, this beautiful, beautiful, lovely, rich red spicy soup. Now if you have a bread roll, you've got a balanced meal there, because this hasn't got, this meal plate has got all the food groups in it. We've got carbohydrate, we've got protein here with the lentils, we've got some fat in there with the oil, we've got vegetables, we've got fibre in there. It's a really delicious balanced meal. If you have it with a bread roll as well, you've got your carbs in there. So you can, if you want to make your bread, get some crusted bread to have with it. You can make some croutons to go on top. Look up online how to make some crispy croutons. But I'm looking forward to seeing your lovely soups, guys, please. Put your pictures up onto Satchel 1. As I say, making sure you've got an adult with you, because you're dealing with knives and boiling liquids. And if you don't want to cook, you've hopefully learnt a lot from this video about the science of cooking, nutrition, and the skills and how to chop an onion. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.